On the banks of the mighty Murray River, something's cooking.
Come and get a snack, grab some bread.
Less than a year after a second-place finish in Farrer, independent Michelle Millthorpe is back for another go.
The first time I didn't vote for Sussan Ley was last election. I look at people like Tim Fisher and Kay Hull, and they were really great ambassadors and advocates for regional Australia, and that's what I think we're missing now.
Once held by the former Deputy Prime Minister, Farrer is again in play after Sussan Ley called time following her ouster as Liberal leader.
If that is the way that the parties are going to treat somebody who's been in there for 25 years, then, you know, how are they representing the people that they're meant to be?
Albury is the biggest population centre in Farrer, a seat that has always been in coalition hands. It's also the location across this street where in 1944 Robert Menzies laid the foundations of the Liberal Party to unify the non-Labor side of politics. 8 decades on, it threatens to become emblematic of the divisions on the political right.
Certainly Farrer is very conservative, so there's a real desire to continue to support a Liberal or national candidate, but there's a lot of dissatisfaction with the results and the level of leadership they've seen.
Michelle Millthorpe's campaign, unlike the major parties, has been quick to mobilise, tapping similar sources of funding and professional campaign know-how used by big city teals. But her eyes are on the most local of rural issues.
We've got generational farmers out there who are considering selling their farms because the price of water is now, 3 times what it was even last year.
Michelle Millthorpe won every booth in Albury last year, but fell short in more rural areas. This time, water is helping propel her campaign. When 7:30 travelled to the western rice-growing hub of Deniliquin, the Orange Emu Independent was preparing volunteers for the battle ahead. It's where we met businessman and farmer Russell Tate.
I was a member of the Liberal Party in the early days, and we helped get Sussan Ley elected.
The chairman of Deniliquin's famous annual Ute Muster, Russell Tate, has grown wary of the Liberals and the seat's long-serving member.
When she was in opposition, she'd be going, we need water, and as soon as they get back into government, she's the Environment Minister, we got what Paddy shot at.
What do you say to people who and I've heard this, who say Michelle Millthorpe is a green or a city-like teal?
Well, I say she's not a teal. Look, she might be a bit green. I'm probably a bit green. I'm a farmer. I've got wetlands and I've got brolgas and I've got beautiful wildlife that I love.
But he's certain some of his neighbours will send their votes to a resurgent Pauline Hanson.
One Nation are going to get huge support out here. They really are.
An hour's drive away, Persimmon farmer Chris Stillard thought briefly about putting his hand up to be One Nation's candidate.
I'm a 5th generation farmer here, and we've been blue-blooded National Party supporters for 120 years.
Yeah, and what's happened?
We've been let down, I think, badly by the Nats, by the Liberal Party.
Driving his anger is the growing cost of irrigating his orchard.
The last 6 months has probably been the same or worse than during the Millennium Drought, in my opinion. My water use is probably up by 30-40% upon normal because we just haven't had any rainfall, really.
And there's his view that Farrer has been forced to give up water for downstream communities.
I'll probably vote One Nation for sure because one of their policies is for stopping the buybacks. This by-election is going to show a lot of parties that you can no longer expect to take out of the seat of Farrer and get our support.
Sussan Ley's abrupt departure from the national political scene has left the Liberals and Nationals scrambling to field candidates. 7:30 has learnt Labor is all but certain not to run, and One Nation will choose from a short list of 3 names this weekend. One is agribusinessman and former CEO of the Australian agricultural company, David Farley.
The second largest One Nation branch in Australia actually happens to be in Farrer.
Like many, he wants to talk about water and why public money is being spent on buybacks rather than improved services.
We're passing up 2 Wagga-based hospitals every year to run the Murray-Darling Basin program as it's designed, and eroding food resilience, regional resilience, food affordability, and ultimately food security, which is national security.
But in essence, am I wrong in thinking you want more water to be in this region than what goes down into South Australia?
No, really not at all. You know, it's not as if we're anti-environment. We're anti-poor environmental policy that's affecting the communities.
One Nation has also been campaigning nationally on slashing immigration, which may not please some of the many farmers and businesses in Farrer that depend on foreign workers. How's that going to play in an electorate like this?
Yeah, that's a great question, and there's one that I've given plenty of thought to. You know, if our democracy was an orchestra, the loudest instrument in an orchestra is a trombone at 162 decibels. When Pauline Hanson speaks, she's the loudest. And when Pauline speaks on immigration, whether she speaks on the Muslim imbalance in our immigration, really what she's saying is, we've got to get immigration right.
We are letting too many migrants in at the moment. For Farrer, we need migrant workers. So it's really about making sure that we are doing place-based assessment of what's needed in our communities, because we need childcare workers and health workers and factory workers and all of these things.
Griffith, in the north of the electorate, has long relied on migrant workers.
They're very important to the industries here, whether it's manufacturing or farming, because they pretty much do all the work.
When the debate is going around the country about immigration and there are strong positions being taken, what kind of a reaction does that generate here?
We haven't really seen much of a reaction. I don't think it's actually resonated with anyone because everyone's just busy doing their own thing.
With the major parties on the nose or absent, Michelle Milthorpe may be the last line of defence against an insurgent One Nation. The Liberals and Nationals have long benefited from rusted-on support. This by-election will test that loyalty. Many coalition voters have told us they're fed up and looking elsewhere. The stakes are high for Angus Taylor and David Littleproud to hold on to this coalition fortress, and for One Nation to demonstrate it can turn the hype around high polls into a lower house seat.
The National and Liberal parties are at the precipice. Do they actually mean something to the community or don't they?
I just wish some of these political parties would actually back us and help us make Farrer the better farming powerhouse that it should be.
We've been an electorate, Jacob, that's given a lot over the years and got little back.
Yeah, so that's why you think there's a mood to change?
There's definitely a mood for change.
While a date for the by-election is yet to be called, the race for Farrer is well underway.